We have Dr. Tom Borelli with a question.
Doctor.
Good morning, Exelon board members, chairman, and employees and shareholders. I have a general question about going forward. Obviously, there's a big management change, and I'm really interested in the direction of which you may deviate from former chairman's direction. It generally has to do with Mr. Rowe's very aggressive support of President Obama and his war on fossil fuels. Now, under Mr. Rowe's focus, the company has invested a lot of money on renewable energy, and as we all know, renewable energy is not sustainable unless it gets government subsidies. And right now, as we speak, Congress is not renewing government subsidies. So the first part of my question is, what is our financial exposure to renewable energy in financial terms if these subsidies run out in terms of production tax credits and other credits? The other question, and maybe you could answer this one first, is that I believe in free markets, I believe in capitalism. And one of the problems we have with Exelon is that Exelon has partnered so closely with the federal government. And one thing that I think is really outrageous to almost all shareholders and taxpayers is the fact that Exelon received a $200 million grant from the federal government. Now, I view this as nothing, short of money laundering. Our taxpayer dollars go to Exelon for free, and then Exelon invests that money. And, as you know, our country is in $15 to $16 trillion in debt. So will the board be going forward and saying, one, we will not take any more stimulus money, and two, as a really good way to show that you really are for America and for the taxpayers, why don't you give that $200 million back to U.S. taxpayers?
Well, thank you for those questions, and I think we'll try to answer your questions briefly in just a moment, and I'll solicit Chris's opinions as well. I would say that at this stage of the meeting, there is going to be another moment just for clarification later in the meeting to ask general questions about the business, and we will try to proceed through some of the shareholder resolutions and get the formal part through. But since you've asked the question, I think... But
this is part of the board. I mean,
yes.
Depending on your answer, people may not depend. It's relevant.
I completely understand. Let me comment on the second question first, and then I'll have Chris talk a little bit about the renewable business. With respect to the federal grants and subsidies you're referring to, there was clearly a moment in time where the U.S. economy was in great distress, and as a consequence, the stimulus was put in place, of which those companies that had an opportunity to put people to work, particularly in the areas of innovation, were given an opportunity to apply for those grants to, in essence, accelerate the recovery of the economy. We did participate in that. I think it's a good result for our customers and a good result for our shareholders. I don't believe we see any link with respect to the solicitation of those funds with our own sort of public policy positions. We were given an opportunity to pursue the benefit on behalf of our customers, and that's what we did. Similarly with renewables, obviously there's some incentives associated with those that may or may not lapse, and I'll have Chris respond to that.
So you have no intention of giving the $200 million back?
We do not currently have.
As far as the renewable program and what we've invested so far, we have no exposure to any change in the tax credits or the incentives that were generated to jumpstart the renewable industry. We, as policy, only invest and build out renewable generating facilities that are contracted for the majority of the life of the asset. So individual states have renewable requirements, portfolio requirements, and our investments have been to support those. And we would continue to make investments like that with or without the stimulus, only if they're priced adequately.
So, but are you saying if the production tax credits are not renewed, it's not going to hurt shareholders?
That's exactly the answer. It will not hurt shareholders if it's not renewed.
Okay, thank you, sir.